Hey, Stoic warriors, blood remembers what the mind forgets. Your ancestors didn't survive famines, wars, and plagues for you to sit here begging someone to text you back. Your DNA carries the code of warriors who conquered continents, yet you're conquering nothing but your own dignity, surrendering territories of self-respect to people who wouldn't cross the street to save you from drowning. This ancestral betrayal ends tonight, in this moment where your bloodline either continues its descent into degradation or remembers its original instructions for dominance. The universe operates on frequencies you've been too noisy to hear. While you've been broadcasting desperation on all channels, the cosmos has been trying to tune you to a different station, one where silence becomes symphony, where absence becomes gravity, where withdrawal becomes the most violent form of presence imaginable. Marcus Aurelius discovered this frequency while Rome burned around him. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Your soul has been dyed with the gray of groveling, the beige of begging, the transparent hue of trying to be seen by eyes that choose blindness. Wolves don't howl to convince the moon to shine. Rivers don't beg mountains for permission to flow. Lightning doesn't explain to the sky why it must strike. Yet humanity, in its infinite capacity for self-destruction, has created entire languages dedicated to justifying existence to those who profit from our doubt. You've been speaking this language fluently, the dialect of desperation, the syntax of servitude, the grammar of groveling. Tonight, we burn this dictionary and write a new one where every word is spelled with sovereignty. Your nervous system still carries the electricity from the first time someone made you feel like you weren't enough. That charge has been circulating through your body for years, decades maybe, creating neural pathways of unworthiness that fire every time someone's indifference triggers your ancient wound. But electricity can destroy or illuminate, and tonight we're rewiring your entire grid to power something magnificent instead of maintaining your malfunction. 7 laws carved into the bedrock of existence are about to be excavated from beneath the sediment of your social conditioning. These aren't strategies or techniques. They're remembrances of what you knew before society taught you to forget. Before they convinced you that love meant lobbying for affection. Before they programmed you to believe that respect required receipts. Before they infected you with the virus of validation seeking that's been replicating in your consciousness ever since. The ceremony of transformation requires witnesses. Strike that like button with the fury of someone who's done genuflecting. Comment your emancipation proclamation below. Share this with another soul trapped in the prison of their own explanations. Subscribe and activate the bell, because this isn't content, it's an exorcism, and exorcisms require commitment to completion. Don't you dare skip even a microsecond. Every syllable is calculated to detonate something false within you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My ancestors didn't survive everything for me to beg anyone for anything. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. Never chase. The gravitational pull of divine indifference. Chasing is the cardinal sin against your own divinity. Every step you take towards someone walking away from you is a step down from your throne and into the mud where peasants wrestle for scraps. The physics of pursuit dictates that the hunter becomes the hunted, the chaser becomes the chased away, the pursuer becomes the perpetually pursuing. You've been running marathons toward people standing still, wondering why you're always out of breath while they're perfectly comfortable. This athletic event of degradation has reached its final lap. Seneca wrote while in exile, "The willing, destiny guides them. The unwilling, destiny drags." You've been dragged because you've been chasing destiny instead of becoming it. Every pursuit of reluctant love has been destiny dragging you away from your actual destination. You've confused motion with progress, activity with achievement, pursuit with purpose. But chasing isn't movement. It's a treadmill where you exhaust yourself while remaining in exactly the same place. Consider the sun for a moment. It never chases planets, yet entire worlds organize their existence around its position. It doesn't pursue, it pulls. It doesn't chase. It creates conditions where everything else must orbit its magnificence or spin off into the cold darkness of irrelevance. Your chasing has been reversing this natural order, making you a planet desperately trying to convince stars to notice your orbit. This cosmic violation has consequences, namely, the complete collapse of your gravitational field. The moment you stop chasing, reality reorganizes itself. The texts you've been sending into the void stop being prayers and become silence that speaks. The calls you stop making become questions in their mind. The pursuit you abandon becomes a vacuum that nature abhors and therefore must fill. But this only works if your stopping is absolute. Partial stopping is still chasing. It's just chasing with rest breaks. You've been afraid that if you stop chasing, you'll lose them. But you can't lose what was never caught. You can't abandon what was never held. You can't release what was never grasped. Your hands are already empty. Your chasing is just the denial of this emptiness. When you stop denying and start accepting, your empty hands become free to receive what doesn't require pursuit. The divine indifference isn't about not caring. It's about caring so much for yourself that you become incapable of degrading that care through pursuit. It's about becoming so gravitationally dense with self-worth that others must adjust their orbit to include you or be flung into space. It's about understanding that anything worth having will recognize your worth without requiring a chase scene. Your new physics. You are the sun. You don't chase planets. You don't pursue moons. You don't beg asteroids to enter your orbit. You simply burn with such magnificent consistency that everything meant to be warmed by your fire will find its way to the appropriate distance. Everything else, let it freeze in the outer darkness of its own choosing. Number 2. Never beg. The violence of maintaining your dignity at all costs. Begging is spiritual suicide performed in slow motion while your murderer watches with disinterest. Every please directed at someone who should be pleasing you is a nail in the coffin of your self-respect. Every petition for basic human decency is a declaration that you believe decency toward you requires special request. The Greeks had a word for this: hubris, excessive pride that leads to downfall. But your hubris isn't pride. It's the excessive belief that you need to beg for what should be freely given. Marcus Aurelius commanded legions, but never commanded love, because he understood. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. Your begging doesn't heal injury. It confirms it. Every plea for understanding is an admission that you're not understood. Every request for respect is confirmation that you're not respected. Every beg for consideration is evidence that you're not considered. You're not solving the problem, you're documenting it. Begging is the language of the colonized mind speaking to its oppressor. It's the syntax of servitude, the grammar of groveling, the punctuation of powerlessness. When you beg, you're not communicating need. You're communicating that your needs are negotiable, that your worth is debatable, that your value requires verification through their acceptance. This isn't communication, it's capitulation. The violence of maintaining dignity means destroying the part of you willing to beg before it destroys everything else. It means performing surgery without anesthesia on the tumor of neediness. It means cauterizing the wound where self-respect bleeds out through desperate pleas for reciprocation. This violence isn't cruel, it's corrective. You're not hurting yourself, you're hurting the false self that believes begging brings relief. Your mouth was designed for declarations, not depositions. Your voice was created for verdicts, not victim statements. Your words were meant to be spells that create reality, not prayers to indifferent gods. When you beg, you betray the original instructions encoded in your ability to speak. You transform from creator to supplicant, from author to editor, from protagonist to extra in someone else's production. The rehabilitation from begging begins with recognizing that everything you've begged for was already yours, or was never meant to be. Love doesn't require lobbying. Respect doesn't need requests. Understanding doesn't demand petitions. If you must beg for it, it's either counterfeit or contraband. Either way, it's not worth having. Number 3. Never explain. The sacred art of letting misunderstanding be their problem. Explanation is exhaustion disguised as education. You've been running a university where you're the only professor, the only student, and the only one paying tuition. Your curriculum consists entirely of courses on why you deserve basic respect, why your boundaries make sense, why your standards are valid. This educational institution is bankrupt, and it's time to burn it down with all your lesson plans inside. Epictetus taught, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." But you've been writing philosophical treatises on your worth to people who can't read. You've been composing symphonies of explanation for the deaf. You've been painting masterpieces of justification for the blind. Your audience lacks the sensory equipment to receive your transmission, yet you keep broadcasting, wondering why the ratings never improve. Every explanation is an apology for existing as you are. Every justification is a jury trial where you're both defendant and prosecutor. Every clarification is admission that you believe yourself unclear, that your actions require annotation, that your existence needs footnotes. You've become a living document with more amendments than original text, more corrections than content, more explanations than essence. Misunderstanding is not your emergency. Their confusion is not your crisis. Their inability to comprehend your frequency is not your failing. You are not Google Translate for emotional illiterates. You are not a dictionary for those who refuse to learn your language. You are not subtitles for those who won't listen to your original audio. Their misunderstanding is their education, should they choose to enroll. The sacred art of letting misunderstanding be their problem requires you to accept that some people will die believing lies about you. Some will go to their graves with incorrect narratives about who you are. Some will spread stories that make you the villain in tales where you were the victim. This isn't tragedy, it's natural selection. Those who misunderstand you are selecting themselves out of your reality. When you stop explaining, you start existing. When you cease justifying, you commence being. When you abandon clarification, you achieve clarity. Your life becomes your explanation. Your results become your reasoning. Your transformation becomes your testimony. Those who need verbal explanation wouldn't understand it anyway. Those who understand need no words. You are not a textbook requiring study. You are not a manual requiring reading. You are not instructions requiring following. You are a force of nature, and forces of nature don't explain themselves. They simply occur and let the world adjust to their occurrence. Number 4. The alchemy of rejection, transforming their no into your becoming. Rejection is not subtraction. It's distillation. Every no you've received hasn't diminished you. It's been boiling away everything that wasn't supposed to be part of your final form. You've been treating rejection like acid that dissolves when it's actually fire that refines. The alchemists searched for the philosopher's stone that could turn base metals into gold, never realizing that rejection itself is that stone, and you are the metal being transformed. The Stoics understood what modern psychology struggles to grasp. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, wrote Marcus Aurelius. Their rejection isn't blocking your path, it's revealing it. Every door that closes isn't keeping you out, it's keeping you from entering rooms too small for your destiny. Every person who rejects you isn't denying your worth. They're confessing their inability to afford it. You've been collecting rejections like wounds when you should be collecting them like medals. Each one is evidence that you showed up, that you tried, that you put yourself in the arena where rejection was possible. But more than that, each rejection is intelligence about where you don't belong, data about what isn't meant for you, information about which kingdoms aren't equipped for your particular brand of royalty. The alchemy happens when you stop seeing rejection as verdict and start seeing it as redirect. The universe doesn't subtract, it sorts. It doesn't deny, it assigns. It doesn't reject, it refines. Every no has been heaven's way of saying, not here, higher. Every closed door has been divinity declaring, not this, better. Every rejection has been reality reorganizing itself to accommodate something about to arrive that required that specific space to be empty. But you've been hoarding rejections like evidence against yourself, building a case for your unworthiness out of other people's inability to recognize worth. You've been using their no as a mirror when it's actually a window, showing you not who you are, but what exists beyond the limitation of their perception. Their rejection doesn't reflect you, it reveals them. It exposes their capacity, their frequency, their limitation in recognizing what stands before them. The transformation requires you to metabolize rejection differently. Instead of digesting it as poison, process it as medicine. Instead of absorbing it as truth, analyze it as data. Instead of internalizing it as verdict, utilize it as fuel. Every rejection should make you more yourself, not less. Every no should clarify your yes to yourself. When you master the alchemy of rejection, you stop fearing it and start welcoming it. You recognize it as the universe's quality control, removing what would dilute your potency. You understand it as cosmic editing, cutting what would compromise your story. You embrace it as divine curation, eliminating what would crowd your masterpiece. You are not the rejected. You are the refined. You are not the denied. You are the distilled. You are not the unwanted. You are the uncontainable. Number 5. The architecture of emotional sovereignty, building an empire of unmoved power. Emotional sovereignty isn't about feeling less. It's about being moved less by feelings that don't serve your empire. You've been a democracy where every emotion gets a vote, every feeling gets a voice, every sentiment gets a seat at the table. But democracies fall to mob rule, and your emotional mob has been ruling you into ruin. It's time for dictatorship, the kind where your highest self dictates which emotions get citizenship in your consciousness. Seneca wrote, "Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and seeks the old." The old truth is that you existed before they arrived. You were whole before they touched you. You were complete before they convinced you something was missing. Your emotional sovereignty means returning to this original state, not through addition of new relationships, but through subtraction of false dependencies. You've been building your emotional architecture on rented land, constructing your happiness on property owned by others. Every time their mood shifts, your entire structure shakes. Every time their attention wavers, your foundations crack. Every time their validation withdraws, your walls collapse. This isn't architecture, it's amateur hour. Real builders own the land before they lay the foundation. Sovereignty requires you to become the unmoved mover, the one who creates motion without being subject to it. You generate emotions without being generated by them. You create feelings without being created by them. You produce reactions without being produced by them. This isn't emotional suppression, it's emotional sovereignty. You're not denying feelings, you're deciding their jurisdiction. The empire of unmoved power doesn't mean you don't feel. It means feelings don't rule. Pain can visit, but it can't govern. Sadness can pass through, but it can't establish residence. Anger can arise, but it can't seize control. You become the sovereign who decides which emotions get audience, which get acknowledgement, which get authority. Most will be dismissed at the gates of your consciousness, denied entry to the throne room of your decisions. Your emotional sovereignty makes you dangerous to those who've profited from your instability. When you no longer crumble at their criticism, they lose their power over you. When you no longer soar at their compliments, they lose their influence over you. When you become unmoved by the emotional weather they create, they realize they're dealing with a mountain, not a leaf. Mountains don't negotiate with wind. The architecture of this sovereignty is built from boundaries that become walls, that become fortresses, that become empires. Each emotion you refuse to be ruled by adds a stone to your structure. Each feeling you decline to be destroyed by adds steel to your frame. Each sentiment you refuse to be swayed by adds height to your towers. You are becoming something that doesn't exist in their emotional vocabulary. Ungovernable. Your feelings are yours to feel, not theirs to direct. Your emotions are yours to experience, not theirs to manipulate. Your inner world is yours to rule, not theirs to colonize. Number 6. The metamorphosis of standards, when boundaries become natural law. Standards aren't preferences, they're physics. Your boundaries aren't suggestions, they're natural laws that operate with the same consistency as gravity. You don't negotiate with gravity about whether it should apply today. You don't explain to gravity why you deserve not to fall. You don't beg gravity to hold you differently. Yet you've been treating your standards like they're up for debate, your boundaries like they're open for negotiation, your limits like they're starting points for discussion. Marcus Aurelius understood: confine yourself to the present. But you've been living in 3 timelines, accepting less than you deserve in the present because of who you were in the past, afraid of who you'll be in the future. Your standards have been time-traveling, weakening with each journey, returning more compromised with every trip. It's time to ground them in the eternal now, where they operate without exception. When boundaries become natural law, violation becomes impossible, not because others won't try, but because violation removes them from your universe instantly. Like objects approaching the speed of light gain infinite mass. People approaching your boundaries meet infinite resistance. They either adjust their trajectory or get ejected from your orbit. There's no middle ground in physics, and there's no middle ground in your standards. You've been treating boundaries like property lines that require surveyors, lawyers, and constant litigation. But natural laws don't need enforcement. They simply are. Water doesn't debate whether to flow downhill. Fire doesn't negotiate whether to burn. Your standards shouldn't deliberate whether to stand. They should operate with the same inevitable certainty as sunrise, non-negotiable, non-debatable, non-explainable. The metamorphosis happens when you stop seeing standards as walls you build and start seeing them as laws you embody. You don't have boundaries, you are boundaries. You don't maintain standards, you are standards. You don't enforce limits, you are limits. This isn't about what you'll accept. It's about what's possible in your presence. Certain behaviors become physically impossible around you, like trying to breathe underwater or fly without wings. Those who can't meet your standards won't see them as cruel. They'll see them as nature, like mountains they can't climb, oceans they can't cross, skies they can't reach. Your standards become geography they must navigate, not negotiations they can win. They either evolve to exist at your altitude or remain at sea level, wondering what the view looks like from your peak. Number 7. The Phoenix Protocol of Total Reinvention. Death as a doorway to deity. Death isn't the opposite of life, it's the requirement for resurrection. The person you've been, that chronic chaser, that perpetual beggar, that eternal explainer, must die. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, but actually, finally, irrevocably. This isn't murder, it's mercy. You're not killing yourself, you're killing the imposter who's been living your life in your place. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember you must die, but they weren't contemplating physical death. They were recognizing that transformation requires complete endings. You can't renovate a condemned building. You can't reform a corrupted system. You can't revise a story written in disappearing ink. You must demolish, destroy, delete, and from that deliberate destruction, construct something unrecognizable. The phoenix doesn't rise gradually. It doesn't negotiate with flames. It doesn't explain to the ashes why transformation was necessary. It simply burns completely, trusts the process of destruction, and emerges transformed. Your transformation requires the same totality. Half measures produce half results. Partial death produces partial life. Complete death produces complete rebirth. You've been trying to change while remaining the same. You've been attempting transformation while maintaining recognition. You've been seeking revolution while preserving reputation. But resurrection requires unrecognizable change. The you that emerges from these ashes shouldn't look like the you that entered the flames. If people can still recognize you, you haven't burned hot enough. The Phoenix Protocol demands that witnesses to your destruction become strangers to your resurrection. They'll say you've changed as if it's an accusation. Receive it as confirmation. They'll mourn who you used to be. Let them grieve. They'll demand the return of who they could manipulate. Give them only the smoke of what no longer exists. This death isn't tragedy, it's strategy. You're not dying from something. You're dying into something. You're not ending, you're beginning. You're not falling, you're rising. The phoenix doesn't apologize for its flames, doesn't explain its ashes, doesn't justify its resurrection. It simply burns and rises in an eternal cycle of becoming. Your old self is already dead. You're just carrying the corpse. Drop it, burn it, scatter the ashes. Let what rises from those ashes be so magnificent that even you don't recognize yourself. This isn't loss, it's liberation. This isn't death, it's deity being born. You entered these words as someone begging for breadcrumbs at the feast of your own life. You leave as the feast itself, complete, abundant, requiring nothing from those who would starve at your table. The transformation isn't comfortable. Metamorphosis never is. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly through gentle adjustment. It dissolves completely into undifferentiated cellular soup before reconstructing into something that can fly. You are no longer asking, "Why don't they choose me?" You've become the choice itself. You're no longer wondering, "What's wrong with me?" You've realized the only thing wrong was believing something was wrong. You're no longer explaining your worth to those who speak poverty. You've become wealth itself, and wealth doesn't explain. It simply exists and watches who can afford to participate. Your silence has become a language that requires evolution to understand. Your absence has become a presence that haunts every space that took you for granted. Your boundaries have become natural laws that operate without your enforcement. You haven't just changed, you've changed kingdoms. You haven't just grown, you've grown wings. You haven't just transformed, you've transcended the very need for transformation. The journey from chasing to chosen, from begging to blessing, from explaining to existing. This journey is complete in this moment, but eternal in its unfolding. Every day you'll choose again, sovereignty or servitude, dignity or degradation, silence or supplication. If this resurrection has awakened your phoenix, ignite that like button. Declare your death and rebirth below. Share this with another soul ready to burn. Subscribe to join the uprising of the ungovernable.